And hello, everyone. Welcome to Trading Tech Talk. My name is Daniel Sinek, and I am excited to be here today because we're going to introduce to you a brand new concept called Multi-Timeframe Fusion, a revolutionary approach to multi-timeframe analysis, finding timeframes other than your chart timeframe to give you insights on your trading which you may not see just by looking at one chart. How this all works will be today's topic. Before we get started, let me remind you that trading contains risk and is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to use risk capital. Should you lose risk capital, it should not affect your lifestyle. When we discuss hypothetical performance or backtest results, keep in mind that these are not necessarily indicative of future performance. All right, so now that the lawyers are happy, let me introduce our team. So we are tradingindicators.com. And as mentioned, my name is Daniel Sinek, and I am joined today by my great colleagues, Homa Javahari, the managing partner of Trading Indicators, and Nicholas, who came up with Multi-Timeframe Fusion. And as you will see, it is quite astonishing what he was able to achieve. So we are so excited to showcase to you what Nicholas has come up with and programmed for us today. So if you don't know us, we are running tradingindicators.com, your online store for all your trading needs. So we offer sophisticated trading indicators which pursue one common goal: to help you make better trading decisions. We employ concepts such as auto-optimization, odds prediction, multi-timeframe analysis, the topic of today, to give you insights which you may not be able to see with the naked eye. We have traders and clients all over the world, including institutions, trading educators, retail clients, and we support many different trading platforms. So if you don't know us yet, check us out at tradingindicators.com. We not only build indicators, we also build dashboards for trading. We build trading apps, trading scanners, and trading tools in general, which will help you, which are all designed to help you make better trading decisions. All right. Now, if you're wondering, is this video recorded? The easy answer is yes, of course it is recorded. All our videos are recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel after this webinar is over. If you don't know where our YouTube channel is, simply go to tradingindicators.com. In the top right corner, you'll have a little YouTube icon. Click on it, and it will bring you directly to our YouTube channel. All right. Now, what's new? What has happened at Trading Indicators? Well, quite a few things. We are working with full force on the Super Signals edition for MT4, MetaTrader 4, and MetaTrader 5. We are almost ready to release them, just doing some final testing, and they will probably be released in the next couple of weeks. If you don't know what Super Signals are, this is our indicator which looks for confluence. Basically, when multiple of our other indicators give you the same signal and forecast the same price move, this is when our super signal comes in. Because as it turns out, this may even make up for a stronger signal. And then, what else is new? Well, we have now released our first 3 MTF Fusion indicators. So MTF stands for Multi-Timeframe Fusion for TradingView. And as you will see today, these indicators are completely free of charge. So this is something we're trying out to offer you our indicators for free to help you make better trading decisions, because we think, if you can grow together that way, it can be a good win-win scenario. These are our MTF Fusion indicators. And having this said, I'm going to pass over the word to Nicholas. Nicholas, are you there?
Yes, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Good. Hi, everyone. So
hello.
I'm going to share my screen, Daniel.
Yes, I'm just going to enable it. Give me 1 second, and you should be good to go. Let's do it.
Okie doke.
Looks good.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about this concept for some indicators and trading that we came up with recently called MTF or Multi-Timeframe Fusion. And just some terms that we're going to use here, just as a little legend in case you don't see these abbreviations often. TF means time frame, MTF means multi-time frame, and TA refers to technical analysis. So just a quick review on time frames so you know what we're talking about, because the term changes from platform to platform. So a time frame, or the time frame of your chart, refers to the bar size in the context of TradingView, which is the platform these indicators are for. So up here in the top right, we see, for example, a 1-minute chart, and then we see a 5-minute chart and a 15-minute chart. And each of these charts is actually a representation of the exact same amount of data in terms of time. So I think this is something like 4 or 5 hour period of time, maybe a little less. And this is how it looks on these different time frame charts. And depending on which time frame you're trading or looking at, you obviously get a different perspective of the market. When you're on higher time frames or larger time frames, you're going to be able to see longer term trends and get a better assessment of the broader market and how things are doing than if you're zoomed in on something like the 1 or 5 minute. So just to illustrate that here in this chart, I put a 1-minute chart, and over on the right is the 5-minute. And the chart is zoomed out the exact same amount in each example. But on the 5-minute here, we see in this box, that's all the information that we were able to see over on the 1-minute. So obviously, if we're zoomed in like this on the 1-minute, we're not getting as broad of a picture as we're seeing on the 5-minute. And this scales upwards. So down here on the 15-minute, again, this is all the stuff we saw on that 5-minute chart. And when you're looking at that 5-minute chart, I just want you to note, it's not clear that we're in an uptrend when you're looking at that level of zoom. It looks like we just broke out, let's say over a high here, but it's not terribly clear that we're actually in a long-term uptrend. When we go to the 15-minute, yeah, that becomes more clear. And on the 30-minute, even more clear. So I'm just drawing your attention to the different perspectives you get from different timeframes, because that's a big part of today's topic. So the time frame information scale, basically when you're on smaller time frames, you're getting less information, and the higher, larger time frames you go, the more information you get. So if you get more information about your chart on higher time frames, some people might ask, well, why don't I just trade the higher time frames, right? Why would I bother with smaller time frames? Well, there are pros to smaller time frame trading. And this is why people do things like scalp trading, day trading. Nobody's day trading on the daily chart, right? You're day trading on an intraday time frame. And some of the pros that traders tend to like, or why we're attracted to it, I personally like these smaller time frames, is number one, there's faster paced action. It's honestly just more exciting. There's more going on and more to analyze. And there's number two, probably the main one for traders, is that there's more cycles and scalp trade opportunities, because you see finer level details of how price is fluctuating in real time. So let's look at this example on the right. I have a 1-minute chart and a 15-minute chart. And both of these charts are showing the exact same move, just on different time frames. And this is what I'm talking about when I say there's more cycles and scalp trade opportunities on lower time frames, smaller time frames. On the 1-minute, we see we could have caught a long trade right here, shorted up here, caught this long, shorted, caught this long, shorted here, and really made a bunch of profitable trades as this little downtrend, this downward channel occurred, in a perfect world if we actually got those executions. But if we were looking at it on the 15-minute, we probably wouldn't have thought of or really seen those cycles or realistically been able to profit from them. This entire cycle right here, this up and down opportunity where you could have ridden up and then ridden down, is probably contained within just one 15-minute bar or less. So there is a big benefit to trading smaller time frames, and this is why traders are attracted to trading them. But of course, there's a lot of cons to trading on smaller time frames, or limitations and considerations you have to think about. So the first one is something I call time frame tunnel vision. So when you're on a smaller time frame like the 1-minute, and I'm going to go into a little more detail on this in the next couple slides, but when you're on a small time frame like the 1-minute, it's really easy to just look at that chart or look at the levels you're seeing. Maybe you drew some trend lines or some channels, or you have a moving average indicator that's telling you something is support or resistance. It's really easy to keep your blinders on and forget about the fact that, hey, maybe we're about to test a support level on the weekly or on the daily or the hourly chart. Maybe it looks like we're in an uptrend on the 1 minute, but we're actually in a downtrend on the 4 hour or the 1 hour. And before we know it, we're going to hit resistance that we weren't thinking about because we're so zoomed in on the 1 minute that we take a bad trade and essentially get screwed because we didn't know what the longer term trend was. And another problem with smaller timeframes like the 1 minute, also the 5 minutes sometimes, is most technical analysis indicators and indicators in general miss important breaks, trends, and information or reversals from higher timeframes. And they make a lot of short-sighted decisions with the small amount of data that they consider. So on the right here, I have an indicator that's built into TradingView called the PSAR, Parabolic Stop and Reverse Indicator. It's a very common indicator. And this is on the 1 minute chart. And just an example of how indicators sometimes don't work so well, or you can adjust their settings, but by default, they often don't work so well on these smaller timeframes. It's because they have such a small look back of data to consider. So if we look here at this long trade, according to this indicator, we would take this long, take this short, long, short, long, short, and a lot of these would end up being flat or losers. Where if we were considering a larger, in an ideal world, amount of data or the lows and highs from other higher timeframes as well, maybe we would have just taken this long here and realized that we never crossed below this low and just ridden this one long trade all the way up to here with maybe a wider trail stop, not so tightly bound to this one smaller time frame. And another thing with trading smaller time frames is it's very hard to manually keep track of what's going on the higher time frames. So we just spoke about time frame tunnel vision, how it's hard, sometimes you don't pay attention to what's happening on maybe the 1 hour if you're on the 5 minute, and you get taken by surprise or ambushed when we break some level you weren't expecting or seeing on your smaller time frame. But in reality, it's actually very hard to keep track of these things. You have to draw tons of lines and levels or trends, or use many different indicators to get a comprehensive view, a holistic view of what's going on at a broader level. So talking about time frame tunnel vision, here's an example. So this is on the 1 minute chart. I think this was a couple days ago on NASDAQ futures. And here, the 1 minute trader might be thinking, hey, we just broke, we were in a little downward channel here, making lower lows and lower highs. And finally, we had a big, high velocity drop. And then we bounced, we made a higher low. Maybe a lot of traders at this point would be thinking, hey, this looks like a good potential short. Maybe I can just take this short right here and we're going to break that low again. And I have all this room to run. What if we fall all the way down to 14,720? I'm going to set my target down there. So this is a common problem that a lot of traders make with this time frame tunnel vision. So in this case, you might think, hey, looks like a good short. Look how fast we're going down. And there's no support down there. Well, oops, we end up bouncing 800 points immediately after, within like 35 minutes. And the reason this happened, or maybe not the exact factual reason, but how we could have possibly avoided it, is this trader was way too zoomed in. So that whole opportunity we were looking at over there on the last slide is just this zone right here. We thought maybe, hey, we could cross down there, but then we got screwed by this bounce upwards. And the reason was the trader was too zoomed in and failed to consider the longer, higher time frame information available to him if he had zoomed out more or looked at higher time frame charts. Because once we made that first low back here, and then we came up, that was actually a sign that, hey, maybe we're about to make a double bottom here and create a higher low. We've got this support line represented from this bottom down here, and we just tapped it again, but this time we actually made a higher low. So maybe it's not so smart to go short here. Maybe I should start scaling in long and use that old low as a stop loss where I'll exit if it turns out in the end it wasn't a higher low. Now, the idea behind multi-timeframe fusion that we're going to get into is that multi-timeframe TA is a lot more effective than just focusing on the single smaller time frame you're trading if you're on the 1 minute or 5 minute. So by integrating data and taking calculations from higher time frames, levels from higher time frames, you're going to enhance your ability to identify short-term trading opportunities and have a lot of better technical analysis that you can use to make discretionary trades. And in the end, actually manage your risk better. Because for example, we look at this trade again, That trader maybe wouldn't have taken that trade if they had known that we just formed a low. Maybe they would have changed their approach entirely. They would have gone long and said, hey, if we break below that low, I'm getting out. And look, that would have been a winner if they had taken it where they planned to short. If they'd gone long instead, they would have had a great support level to set here as like risk management for this discretionary trade. So when you consider multiple higher time frames, for example, when you're trading the 1 minute, if you look at the 5 minute, 30 minute, and 1 hour simultaneously, and you combine levels from them, you're going to be able to better anticipate the range of moves and what's possibly going to happen and what's really going on in the market at a broader level. So how does this concept work? Well, the basic for this multi-time frame fusion is exactly in the name. We're taking data from multiple higher time frames and we're fusing them. And if you were to do this yourself, let's say you were trying to create multi-time frame fused trend lines. Well, you would select, number one, the relevant higher time frame trading. So if you're trading the 1 minute, maybe you're going to take trend lines from the 15 minute, the 30 minute, and the 2 hour. Then you're going to calculate and gather the data from them. So you're going to find out, well, what are the resistance and support trend lines on the 15 minute, 30 minute, and 2 hour? And if we look here in this first little image, that's exactly what's going on here. This is a 1 minute chart. And these 4 higher resistance trend lines and 4 lower support trend lines are from higher indicators. Maybe they're higher time frames, sorry. Maybe they're from the 15 minute, 30 minute, hourly, and 4 hourly. So we're getting a lot better information here instead of just having our one little short-sighted 1 minute trend line, support and resistance trend lines, which if we applied with single time frame analysis on the 1 minute chart, might just be a little line, maybe marking these lower highs right here, which doesn't really give us the full picture of what's going on. And so this is MTF Fusion right here going on. We've collected these 4 trend lines for resistance and support, and then we fuse them all together, which is basically just averaging them together. But in our algorithm, we have a way that we weight them in the calculation based on how relevant or close they are to the time frame you're actually trading. So these are fused or MTF Fusion trend lines that you get as a result considering multiple higher time frames. So why is this useful? Well, number one, it's going to totally reduce time frame tunnel vision because you no longer have to do that zooming out that we were talking about because you're getting the information from higher time frames on your lower time frame chart, like the 1 or 5 minute, right there for you to see very easily. You're going to be able to absorb more information faster. So we spoke about how there's more information on higher time frames than there is on lower time frames. Well, now when you're on the lower ones, you're going to be able to absorb that a lot faster, hopefully. And thirdly, there is going to be a higher chance that you're getting quality technical analysis from the indicators you use on TradingView if they employ a method like this, or if it's possible for them to. And while we were talking about this method that I just described, where you take data from higher time frames and then combine them, you can technically do that yourself. You can take an indicator and put it on one time frame, another time frame, then average the result and draw that. Now, obviously, there is a big drawback, a lot of drawbacks to manual multi-time frame technical analysis. Number one is if I'm on the 1 minute or 5 minute, how do I even know which time frames to look at? It's not necessarily cut and dry. Maybe I want to do scalping, right? Maybe I want to take a trade that's only going to last 2.5 minutes. Well, do I want to look at the 1 hour trend lines at that point? Maybe not. And maybe my style is different. Maybe I want to swing, or I'm on the 15 minute, or I'm on the 5, the 30. How do I know which higher time frames to incorporate? So that's one difficulty of manually doing this. Another difficulty is every time you change symbol or time frame, you got to adjust your indicators because most indicators are not multi-time frame, and you're going to have to change the period. When you put some moving average on the 1 minute chart, a lot of moving average indicators, their period by default is something like 11 or 14 or 21. A lot of the time when you're on the 1 minute chart, there's so much flat stuff going on that these moving averages are entirely useless unless you increase their period to something like 100 or 200 or higher and find some combination of them. But when you change timeframes and symbols, that's going to change too. So every time you change your chart, you've now got to adjust your indicators and your drawing. So all those lines you drew, your channels and trend lines, now they're all invalid. And when you do all that, it's also hard to keep track of it. Like we spoke of before, the chart is going to get cluttered. So what we try to do with these multi-timeframe fusion indicators is do automatic multi-timeframe technical analysis. That's the goal of these indicators of MTF Fusion. And the way it works is when you apply it to a chart, any of these MTF Fusion indicators to a chart, we have an algorithm in place that we've done a lot of testing on to make sure that they actually relatively make sense or are logical relative to the time frame you're on. So whatever chart you apply it on, 5 minute, 1 minute, 30 second, 2 hour, it's going to automatically select 4 or more higher time frames and take levels and calculations from them, and not only display the readings from the multiple higher time frames, but also allow you to just display the fused results, which are where the word fusion comes from. And we also have a smart algorithm for selecting the higher time frames. I already mentioned that, but also weighting the values so that they're adjusted in a way when they're fused together that hopefully makes a lot of sense for the chart time frame you're on. And all of these indicators have several features that I'm going to demonstrate. MTF View, which lets you see the indicator values from different higher time frames, the ones that were selected automatically based on your chart. Fusion View, which lets you just see the fused results. Custom color themes and bullish and bearish fills to highlight maybe breakaways, breakdowns, breakouts, or trends, and any indicator parameters that are relevant for that exact indicator. So I'm going to now open up TradingView. And so feel free to follow along because the indicators are free. All you have to do is go in your TradingView chart and search MTF Fusion in the indicators search window and select any of the ones by trading indicators. So right now we released 3 of them. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 in the pipeline that'll be out maybe the next week or 2. And I'm going to be starting with MTF Fusion SR levels to get you through the features and just demonstrate what they do, how they work. And I'm also going to use SR trend lines.
And Nicholas, while you maybe keep this chart just for a second, I think users may need a minute or two to find these indicators. So please, if you want to follow along, try to apply them to your TradingView chart now. And meanwhile, I'm gonna just go through some questions that users have to bridge the time. So some questions that we got is, do these indicators only exist for TradingView? And here the answer is yes. Currently, they are only available for TradingView. We don't know yet what our future plans will be. It depends a bit on how well they are received, whether we will be porting them to other platforms. But currently, our plan is to supply them for TradingView only. And the other questions that we got, are these indicators only applicable if you use them on the 1 minute time frame and then they fuse the data from M5, M30, and so forth? The answer here is yeah, exactly. It's no.
Every time frame, every single time frame.
Exactly. They work on every single time frame. For example, if you apply them to the hourly time frame, the indicator will automatically select higher time frames above the 1 hour, where it will get the additional data from and fuse this data accordingly. So no, it's not only limited to the 1 minute time frame. And I'm just going to look through the questions for one more time, just making sure that users will be able to install it.
Sure.
All right. That seems to be all good. All right, I think we're all set. So please continue, Nicholas.
Excuse me. Okay, and one last thing. So while you're there, follow us, please. You can click on our profile beside the indicators, and it would really help us out if you give us a follow. And if you like the scripts in the end, please consider giving them a boost. When you follow us, you're going to get notifications on TradingView whenever we update them and when we release the next ones. So yes, now exactly. I'm going to hop.
And real quick, if you don't know how to find us, just going to interrupt you for one more second. You can simply go to tradingindicators.com, which is our domain, tradingindicators.com/TV. And TV stands for TradingView. So that's the shortcut, tradingindicators.com/TV. This will bring us to bring you to our profile page on TradingView. And then you can simply click the follow button if you're interested in following us. And as Nicholas mentioned, then you will be notified whenever we have an update or when we release a new MTF indicator.
Okay. All right. Am I good to go?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Okay. So this is the 1 minute on NQ. And yes, I'm going to click on the other time frame so you can see and even go on Forex and crypto to show it really works everywhere. And I'm going to just walk through the settings and review what we just spoke about, how the indicators work. So up here in the top left, I've got SR levels, MTF Fusion, support and resistance levels applied. And I have nothing enabled here, so we don't see anything. And what I'm going to start with is clicking on MTF View. And if we check the tooltip here, if you ever wonder what the settings do, just check these tooltips. And when I click MTF View, it's going to show the support and resistance levels calculated on the higher time frames. And let's go ahead and do that. And right away, when I click that, we're going to see these levels appear on the chart here. And these levels, support and resistance levels, come from several different higher time frames that were automatically selected. And you might notice that these levels stretch pretty far back. I'm going to talk about this setting after. If you're looking for little shorter breaks, you can also change the look back on these levels to get them to update quicker. But I'm going to talk about the nuances of that. So when you have these MTF trend lines applied by clicking MTF View, if you didn't know, in the top right of TradingView, there's this thing called the data window over here. You can just click on that, and it's going to show you the values of all of those different levels for easy reference. And from numbers 1 to 4 for resistance and support levels, these are from the smaller higher time frames to the highest time frame. So the highest time frame support level we've got is down at 256, down here. So that's how that works. And this is a very handy tool because you can also hide the indicator from here too and edit its settings. So those are the MTF trend lines we see with MTF View. Now, Fusion View, when we click this, what it's going to do is take all of these support and resistance levels and merge them into one fused result. And the big idea between this is removing the clutter on your chart and giving you a bird's eye view of higher time frames so that you don't have to consider them too hard for yourself. And again, these are not hard lines in the sand as levels, right? These are meant to be discretionary levels or zones that you use to guide your trading, guide your risk management, and just to help you make quick decisions while you're scalping or while you're trading on any time frame. So I'm going to turn off MTF View, or actually I'll leave it on for now. I'll click View. And now we're going to see the fusion lines, the fusion support and resistance. And they're marked with these little diamonds. It's called a diamond step line on TradingView. These are the fusion lines, the fusion support and the fusion resistance, which represent a merger of all of this information from the other timeframes. So if I turned off MTF View now, I'm going to see just the fusion zones here, or the fusion support and resistance. And what I'm going to do is just walk us through a quick replay to show how these levels develop so you understand the settings. And okay, so here we're on replay mode, and I'm going to click play, and we're going to see how these levels come in. And an important thing to know about these is they do not repaint. So the way you saw them historically, you would have actually been able to trade them like that, which is super important for real-time trading, right? So as we ran forward, right away, we start getting this resistance line, which comes from a higher time frame. And it's a thin line, which is telling me it's from one of the smaller higher time frames. And if we look at that level, where does it come from? Where is the indicator actually getting that from? Well, it's getting that level from all the way back here. So it's now determined on some higher time frame, probably let's say the 10 or 15 minute, because we're on the 1 minute. This now poses a pivot high, which is making a resistance level. So we see that level right there, and we're going to see just how well price tends to react to these levels because traders are seeing them when they're on the other higher time frames trading them themselves. So as price goes up here, we go up, and we knew about this level back here. We could have saw it like that, but maybe we were zoomed in. So the indicator would have done it for us. And we see price tests that level, and for now fails to break it. So it was a valuable level to know about. And I'm going to let things run forward, and we're going to see how eventually, I'm going to turn on the fusion lines, how eventually the fusion lines match up as the indicator calculates data from the higher time frames. So we got rejected by that actually useful higher time frame resistance line that maybe we wouldn't seen. Maybe we were on the 15-second chart. We weren't zoomed back enough. And right now I'm going to keep an eye down here. Our support is still all the way down here. So we haven't really had any significant double lows or anything to indicate to the indicator that we've got actual support at a higher level just yet. This resistance line continued forward, and eventually we got this new updated resistance from a higher time frame right here, which represents this break attempt, which made it a higher high. So now we're seeing that represented in the indicator. And notice here as the line gets more dense, that's because not only is this now resistance on one of the higher time frames, it's also resistance on another higher time frame. So two higher time frames see this as a level of resistance. And we're going to see that as time moves forward, the fusion line is starting to come down to that level, the fusion resistance line. And now we've got three, or all of the higher time frames now see that as the main resistance. And you can see now that these higher time frame lines are all at the same level, and the fusion resistance is now merged with them. We've now got the fusion resistance, which we consider the most important level from this indicator, right at that level aligned with the higher time frames themselves. And we're going to see what happens. I'm going to turn on a setting called breakaway zones. So what this setting does is whenever price breaks out from a fusion resistance or breaks down from a fusion support, it's going to fill the area between price and the level to highlight the breakout or breakdown. So what we're probably going to see here is hopefully a retest or a smaller high, but eventually we're going to break one of these lines. Give it a little time here. And let's see how the supports are doing, how they're developing. We've still got support really low down. Okay, we're finally trending up. And maybe we will test it right here. Soon, soon, soon. And here we go. So finally, also, this has now been marked as a support. So in real-time trading, this is actually an interesting example. We finally got a little idea for support from the SR levels, which was down here. And we saw that price is trending up to test this important resistance line. So although we don't have a lot of levels right now, and I'm going to talk about that later, how to improve that, we have an opportunity here for a long trade, right? So maybe if we're about to break this, we might enter long at some point here on a pullback and set this level. I know it's very far away, but set some level or maybe this level here as our stop loss. Or maybe we want to short betting that we're actually not going to break that and use something like this level as our final target. But we see here, we end up breaking resistance, coming back down. And this is actually a very nice bounce here. We broke the resistance. We came back down and tested it. So this is a resistance line merged from all these higher time frames. And look how well price is actually, I say the word respecting. It's respecting the level by the fact that it's acknowledging it. Not only did it break it, but then it came back down and tested to see, hey, did it really break that? Is this going to serve as support? And we end up seeing...
Guys, just real quick, Nicholas, if you can stop for a second.
Yeah.
Guys, when you hear that sometimes resistance becomes support after price breaks through it, that's exactly one example of that, where price broke through a resistance zone. And as soon as that break happened, then that resistance zone will become the new support level, basically for price, where it can bounce off from and perhaps trend higher.
Exactly, and that's precisely what happened here. And I'm not going to let us run too long and replay here, but you would see as new levels are calculated. But one other setting I want to bring to your attention is the look back. So it's set to very long. So what this means is that the indicator and the SR trend lines indicator I'm going to show waits a long time until it confirms that something's a support or a resistance. So we had this low all the way back here. Look how long it waited until it confirmed, because it's looking at higher time frames, right? It's not just looking on the 1 minute. Look how long it took to confirm that, hey, actually on the higher time frames, that definitely was a local low. But if I set that to very short, you're going to see just how quickly the indicator recognized that that's a pivot low. Not that quicker, but definitely quicker than before. It noticed that's an important level right here. And another interesting thing here is the fusion line, or the higher time frame lows, were recognized right here as support. You see the support level? And look how nicely price came and tested those higher time frame supports. And when we broke up, made our way towards this trend line, again, you can see how price was testing these higher time frame resistance lines. Tried to test it here, came down. Tried to test this one, came down. Tried to test this one, came down. On and on. And they create kind of zones and channels that you're able to use for your risk management or planning out your trades, where you're going to go long and short, where you're going to place your stops and targets or additional scaled entries. So this has been the MTF SR levels indicator. And I'm just going to show you, I'm on the 1 minute right now, but if I switch over, and I'm actually going to set us back to something more reasonable, like long. If I switch over to the 15-minute chart, again, it recalculates levels that are based on higher relevant timeframes and gives us actually good levels that we can consider for our trades. So you can see again how price, this is the fusion support, fusion resistance right here. Price tried to break that, and it was a level that was important to test because look, we failed. We came right down. We broke through the fusion support. Again, price came back up, tested. Is this support now resistance? It confirmed it was, and we had this nice rundown where you could have profited. And if we did something like jump over to the 1 hour, again, the same thing is going to happen. It's going to adjust itself to give us good logical levels that provide us with ranges to trade and breakouts and breakdowns to trade. So when you look at an area like this, it's not repainted these levels. So they're real time. And look how well price respects these resistance and support levels. At this point, it started plotting this as a resistance line. Then price came, tested it, failed, came down and tested the fusion support, bounced off of it again. It's very good. I found in my experience so far, these are very good levels that end up actually being extremely useful for discretionary trading. So the next indicator we're going to look at now is the SR trend lines level indicator. So the MTF Fusion SR trend lines is a lot like SR levels, but instead of plotting levels, it's going to be plotting trend lines. So I'm on ES here. I switched over to ES on the 1 minute. And here is the SR trend lines indicator. Just like SR levels, it actually has the exact same settings. So you can turn on MTF View, you can highlight breakaway zones or not, change your look back, turn on the Fusion View or not, and change, of course, the color themes to whatever you would like them to be. Now, with SR trend lines, when you first apply the indicator, I'm going to reset the settings. It looks like this. And we chose the diamond plots, or I chose them because I think it's nicer to have a general sense of a level than a magic line that you're considering, hey, if price just touches this, well, I'm going to buy or I'm going to sell. It's nicer to have a thick line that you can see, but I understand if you don't like these visuals, what you want to do is go to style, just change the fusion resistance trend line to line, and the same thing for support, and maybe thicken them up a bit so you can differentiate them from other lines. And excuse me, just like Fusion View, the SR levels, you can turn on MTF View, but look what happens here. It's a lot more cluttery than it is on SR levels because these are no longer flat lines. They are sloped lines, and the way TradingView plots them is like this with these stepping action. But they are still just as useful if you can get past the appearance. If I turned off the Fusion lines and I got a sense of MTF View, Fusion View, got a sense of the MTF View, I can see them more clearly. And it's also because we are on the 1 minute, so higher time frames look a lot more drastic. So let's hop over to the 15 minute. We'll see how they look here. Here they're much clearer, right? Now we can see, look how clear of a resistance this was, or a resistance strike this was. And the good thing about MTF View is it also doesn't give you one solid line that you have to treat as a magic level. It gives you kind of a zone here. So as price came in and tested the area, you could tell if it breaks all 4 of these, well, that's a pretty strong breakout because now multiple higher time frames are telling everyone this is a breakout. And we can see that, again, it came down, tested to see if the resistance becomes support. It was, and then it broke away and flew off from those levels. We see down here, we kind of almost got a bounce off this trend line. Here we had the same thing again. It broke these 4 trend lines, tested them to see if they would be support, and then rocketed off. So what I like to do with these indicators, when you're using them, here's just some tips to make them more useful to you. So I'm going to turn off MTF View, and I'll tell why you use MTF View a little more later. And I'm just going to turn on Fusion View, and I'm also going to turn on SR levels. And the reason why I like to layer these indicators is because they have those breakaway fills, right? The filled zones where price breaks from the fusion line. And what this helps with is that the fills become more dense and opaque when the indicators agree, right? When there's confluence between them. Because when we have a breakout on, on the trend lines, we get this nice breakaway fill. But then if I layer it with SR levels, well, when I get that other break, I get even more confirmation that it's a strong breakout. And just again, I know I'm harping on this, but look how nicely we had this breakout with the trend line. When we put on SR levels, look how nicely this run happened. And then how price came and tested that fusion support. 1, 2, 3, maybe on 10 different bars. It came down, it dipped. That would have been a great chance to buy on that pullback before we came up a lot higher. And this is today's market. These are all the default settings on these indicators too. Now, what I really like to do with SR levels is always keep on MTF view. Like I mentioned, when you turn on MTF view with SR trend lines, especially on the 1 minute, look how cluttered that is. You don't want to see that. You might want to see it when you're on the 15-minute or 30-minute because it's a lot less jagged. But on SR levels, it's extremely useful to have the MTF view because it's clean and it gives clean levels or clear levels that you can consider. So if I turn off MTF view on SR levels and we look at this action again, we got the break through SR trend lines. What actually happened is we came down through the SR support line, the support trend line. It looked like it was going to be a failed bullish trend. We're going to come down hard. Once we came down, we tested that Fusion SR levels line and acted as support. We bounced up, we broke back through the trend line, tested this one right here again, then broke strong through that resistance trend line and kept rocketing, right? And then we saw that action up here with the Fusion SR level we spoke about. But when we turn on MTF view for SR levels, now we've got even more information. So why did price start losing steam up here? Why did the trend lose steam? Well, we turned on MTF view and we saw that when we turned on MTF view, the reason that happened was because that was resistance. Excuse me. Turn on this setting. That was resistance from a higher time frame. That's why price had trouble testing this level here. So if you were trading this in real time, you might have seen that and taken a short right there and scalped it, expecting it to come down and revisit this line, which eventually it did. It could have been a very profitable trade. You could have bought again and expected to ride it through the break up here or something like this. So it's extremely useful for discretionary trading. And I'm going to hop over now because I saw someone asking, is it only good on futures? No. So I'm going to open up Bitcoin here. And I'm also going to open up a Forex symbol. So here I'm on the 5 minute on Bitcoin. I'm going to type in MTF Fusion and open SR levels and trend lines, and we'll see what's going on. So here, just that confluence I was just speaking about, where the indicators layer and give really nice breakout and breakdown opportunities. Look right here. We had that breakdown through the Fusion SR level, which came only like 6 bars after we broke through the Fusion support trend line. And we had a strong breakdown and it was highlighted with this coloring. Later, we broke through this trend line. We bounced off the trend line again. And now we're testing this Fusion resistance line. Maybe that's going to act as resistance, or maybe we're going to go up and come back and test it again before rocketing off. And I'm going to go over now to, let's say, the 1 hour, just to show how we adapt once again. So all I was saying was I switched to a higher time frame. And if you don't like the kind of pace of the trades or how long it takes, how long you're waiting before you get a break, again, all you have to do is come in and change the lookbacks. Change it to maybe you want to trade short, a shorter time frame, and you'll get these smaller, more frequent moves. And as one more example, before I move on to something else, I'm going to go over to a Forex symbol on, let's say, USD CAD. And I actually already have something on here. Okay, here I have the indicators applied on USD CAD. I have this one on short. Oh, it's because I'm still on the same chart, so it's keeping the settings. But again, even on Forex here, on a small chart like the 5 minute, we already see nice highlighted zones where we could have made these little moves, little scalps. And if we had SR levels set to MTF view, even without the trend lines, all of these levels act as really nice ranges just to play your trades off of. Like, just look here. When we came right here, we saw that price started to trend up towards this resistance. Maybe you would take a 1 unit short right here and tell yourself, hey, if we come up to this fusion resistance, I'm going to enter short again, but my ultimate stop loss is going to be here. If we hit here, I'm out. And what happened? We came up, we tested, we barely broke it, tested it a third time, this level. and then came down, tested this support, broke it, tested it, broke it, did more testing. So these aren't levels just made up out of thin air, right? That's why they work. They're based on the pivots from higher timeframes than charts, and they're combined. That's what actually makes them work and makes them reliable. So here's another little strategy that I actually like to use in real trade. Now, my favorite one is SR levels, the support and resistance levels, because I like to scalp. And I'm here on futures on NQ on the 1 minute. And what I do is I apply one version of the indicator. So that's the one you see right here. And the settings for this indicator are set to Fusion View and MTF View and very long look back. So this gives me longer term or more confirmed resistance and support levels. Then what I do is I apply another instance of the same indicator on top of it. This one, I use very short. So now I'm getting shorter term confirmed resistance and support levels. But how do I tell them apart? That's easy. I just set it to a different color theme. Now it can be looks a lot very cluttered at first, but you'll see just how these levels can be extremely useful while you're trading, because you don't have to respect them religiously. That's not the idea. They're just to help you get a view of what's going on higher timeframes, or what are some levels I should consider where things might reverse or might mark the starts of trends. Like, look at this one right here. This is why I like to apply the very short and very long, because the very long is showing me this important support down here. When I put on a very short, I get things like, oops, I changed the settings, but I get things like this level right here. This level right there, that line, that's based on this high back here. So the indicator determined that maybe on the 15-minute or something, this is now a pivot high. So it started tracking it and marked it as a resistance. Immediately, price broke through it, got a nice little trend. We could have traded that. Then price came back down and did what we've been showing repeatedly, which is turning resistance into support or support into resistance. And look at that. It just wicked right through it before immediately bouncing. And here we see another good phenomenon. This was such a big uptrend. This just happened today, right? This big run we had on NQ from 14,800s to 15, almost 300. This was such a significant pivot high on so many different time frames that the fusion resistance has now immediately snapped up to there. So now this is a very important resistance, right? If we break through there, that's the big breakout move now. And we're now in this range. Maybe we're going to come down to this old level or down here or something like this. And I saw how good these indicators were working just looking at it. And I decided I was going to use it to trade live. And just using this exact setup that I'm showing you right now, with the very long settings on SR levels and very short settings, I took 2 challenges, prop trading challenges for futures with the trading pit. So the first one, I think I got extremely lucky. So I hit the profit goal, which was 5,000 profit on a 150,000 account in 1 day traded out of the 29 days or 30 days total. And I got 13 consecutive wins with 0 losses, average win 392. And I hit that in 1 day. So I thought, okay, maybe it's a fluke. I'm going to start a new challenge. So I started a new challenge 2 days ago. I'm 2 days in. Again, I'm using the chart you just saw. I'm trading off those levels. I'm already at 50%. We saw 150. I'm already at 50% towards the profit target, which would be me passing the evaluation and then getting funded and going into real money withdrawals trading. That's just, if I took the prop trade, I wanted to see if I could pass a challenge using these and actually manage my risk just based on levels. So an example of a trade, I stopped trading because I hit my max profit for the day, I think at 9 a.m. I traded, where was it? I think it was right here. So at this point, when we came here, right, because at 8:30, there's often a lot of volatility. And right at 8:30, we spiked up and we broke through this long-term fusion resistance. And I said, hey, I'm going to short. I think I shorted 14,952 or 53. And I said, if we go all the way up to 14,970, this other higher time frame resistance, then I'm out. That's my risk. I'm just getting out. It's not a big risk trade. And I was expecting that was going to be an important high. And we were at least going to come bounce and retest this support. And we did. We tested it. I waited until it tested again. And then when it broke down, I think I exited here. I was like, okay, that's enough profit. I'm not going to be greedy. And I got out. But that's just an example of how you can use these levels for areas to trade and ways to manage your trades. And that's all for me, Daniel. That's all I have prepared about these indicators. We're going to be releasing a couple other ones, MTF Fusion moving averages, MTF Fusion moving average crossovers, super trends, and many others. We already have parabolic stop and reverse MTF Fusion available, which is this indicator right here, which you can also get on our page or look up in the community scripts window. But that's all for me, Daniel.
Great, awesome. Thanks, Nicholas. Please keep on the chart if you can, because we're going to go through some questions, and then I think it's going to be easier.
Thanks everybody for listening too. Thank you.
That's an awesome presentation. I think there are some really valid insights in what these indicators bring to the chart, especially as Nicholas mentioned, the support and resistance zones or price may bounce off from, or perhaps a new trend will start off from, and these will then act as support. Now, let me go through these questions, and there were quite a few. So, all right. Will these indicators be available for MT5 and NinjaTrader or Motivwave? Currently, no. The answer to this is no. We will be releasing them for TradingView. There are multiple reasons for this. First of all, it's a lot of extra work to convert them to all these other platforms, and we know TradingView is a common denominator. Everybody has access to TradingView. There's a free version of it, so it's an easy platform that everyone has access to. So that was our motivation to start releasing them on TradingView, and we currently do not have plans to convert them to other platforms. Another question that came in was, are these indicators for free? And here the indicators, yes, absolutely. So Nicholas, maybe
just type in MTF, go on your TradingView chart, click up here on indicators, and type in MTF Fusion. Click on community scripts, actually, and type MTF Fusion. For me, it's showing all these because we have these ones. But down in community scripts, you'll see these ones: MTF Fusion, PSAR, SL levels, and lines. Click on the ones by trading indicators. And another way to find these scripts is to go to our link, which is our website, tradingindicators.com/TV. That will bring you to our TradingView profile, where you'll see these all in our script.
That's right. All right. Okay, let's move on. Dan wants to know, do you plan to add multi-timeframe divergence?
That's a great idea. That's an interesting idea. If we find some multi-timeframe divergence indicator that we think can be done with this method, then I think we'll do that, because we're definitely going to move forward with this type of indicator. We think it's a cool concept. We already have a bunch in the works, and we're going to look for new ideas to release to add to the list of them. So definitely that's a good idea. Maybe we can even do one of our own divergence indicators. So we'll definitely look into that. Thanks for the idea.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Salvador wants to know, can I use these indicators also in ZillionTree? All right, that's a good question. So ZillionTree is our trading dashboard that we have developed, one of our bigger projects. And if you don't know what it is, check it out at zilliontree.com. And here the answer is currently no. These indicators will only be available for the actual TradingView platform, but not ZillionTree, which also leverages TradingView for charting, but it would only be available for the TradingView platform. Alan wants to know, will this work with daily data? Nicholas, maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, sure. So let me just hop over to the daily chart. Oh, it's because I'm on a futures contract that just began. So let me switch over to another symbol. What can I open up? Daniel, if I go to just NQ there, that'll be perpetual. Okay. So here it is on the, do I have two applied? I just have one applied. I'm going to turn off MTF View for a little less cluttering. So here is the SR levels indicator on the daily chart. And yes, it does work. I believe our algorithm, when you apply to the daily chart, looks at the 3-day, the 1 week or 2 week, the monthly chart, and the quarterly chart, or it might be even longer time frames, to devise the levels that it comes up with. So yeah, it definitely works on the daily chart.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. So let me see, what other questions do we have? Okay, we have the daily chart. All right. Okay, Michael's asking, because TradingView is proprietary code, that helps. Yes, perhaps. All right. No problem, Salvador. Your questions are always welcome. All right. Okay, so far so good. Homa, do you see any questions on your end?
Yeah, I did have a couple questions about whether the recording will be available. Just like all our tech talks, the recordings will be available. I send out an announcement by email, probably in a few days. And they're also on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go back and watch it.
Great, thanks. Dan wants to know, what features do the paid MTF Fusion indicators have? So here the good news is, as of right now, all our MTF Fusion indicators are completely free. So if you see a paid version somewhere, it's probably not by us. So our indicators are currently completely free. All right, we have that. Perfect.
Daniel, we have a question here. Which time frames, if I'm on the 5 minute, does it look at? That's part of our algorithm that we've invented. So it looks at a lot of higher time frames that are going to be relevant to the 5 minute chart. So I believe for the 5 minutes, it's looking at the 15, the 30 or 45, the hourly and the 2 hourly, something like that. So you can expect it's taking extremely relevant levels for the time frame you're on.
Yeah. David wants to know, will these work on the free version of TradingView? So here the answer is yes, I believe they will work with the free version. All you have to put up with are the advertisements that TradingView will show to you. And there will also be some other limitations, such as I think you can only apply, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 or perhaps 3 indicators at the same time to the chart. So there's a limit there. And I think you cannot define your alerts and stuff like this. But besides this, yeah, for sure, it will work on the free version for TradingView, making this a completely free offer. So you can get TradingView for free, as well as these indicators completely for free.
I had a couple of questions about the challenges that you referred to, Nicholas. So these challenges that Nicholas tried were challenges from the trading pit. They are looking for trading talent, and they do fund your account if you're able to pass a certain number of if you're able to pass their challenge. And you can go and get more information actually on our website. If you go to tradingindicators.com/pit, PIT, I put the link in our chat box, and you can check it out and see for yourself.
Yeah, and on that note, just to expand a little bit on this, and maybe Nicholas, you can also expand that once you sign up for, let's say, a futures challenge with the trading pit, you will get access to broker data, of course, live trading data, but also to trading platforms such as Quant Tower or Atas. And the way Nicholas was trading these challenges was that he did his analysis on TradingView. He subscribed to the live data on TradingView. I think it's a charge of $2 a month, so it's not a big charge. And then he was looking for signals on his TradingView chart. And once he saw an entry, he simply executed that one on one of the platforms support
on Quant Tower. Yeah. So I was just watching on TradingView using these levels on the 1 minute on NQ. And I was executing my trades on Quant Tower, which is one of the platforms they give you access to, which is a pretty great platform. And yeah, that's it basically. And they give you access to that once you take a challenge.
Exactly. Cool. Another question is, what is next in our pipeline? Nicholas, what do we have in our pipeline next in terms of these indicators?
The next ones, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and how often are we planning to come up with new MTF Fusion indicators?
So in the pipeline right now, we have MTF Fusion moving averages, and it might be moving averages with crossovers as well. MTF Fusion moving averages, MTF Fusion super trend, MTF Fusion, I think it's going to be something like a volume area, developing volume area. And we might have some swing point indicator coming out as well. As for what's coming up in the future, that's going to come soon, but we're not set in stone of exactly what other indicators we're making.
Yeah, and in terms of our release cycle, we plan to release these perhaps every 10 to 2 weeks, or maybe even 3 weeks sometimes.
10 days, sorry, Daniel.
Oh yeah, so
case
10
days.
to 10 days to 2 weeks. But if you want to, get notifications whenever we release something, make sure to follow us on TradingView. So if you go, perhaps show us the profile where you can do this.
Yeah. So you just have to go to tradingindicators.com. Let me bring you there right now. Tradingindicators.com/TV. That link, click enter. And it's going to just bring you directly to our profile. And if you want to get notifications, I don't see the button here because I'm logged into our account. If you want to get notifications, you'll just click the follow button over here on the right. It'll tell you whenever we release one of these scripts. And all you have to do is click scripts to see our scripts right here. If you want to open them up on a chart to get them, just go to any TradingView chart and click indicators up here. Type in MTF Fusion, and you'll find them somewhere in the list you see in the first 3 ones, MTF Fusion by trading indicators. So just click on one of those and you'll get them.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you want to help us out and keep us doing these free indicators, make sure to also click the boost button when you use the indicator. And this will give us instant feedback that they are well received. And it motivates us to keep on producing them free of charge. Awesome. All right, guys. So I think this wraps up pretty much the session. So I'm gonna go
Thanks,
through
John.
some
Sorry
more
to interrupt you.
questions.
But thank you, John, for the encouragement. Appreciate it.
Yes. Hi, John. Good to see you again. So it's so good to see most of our community members always on these tech talks. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. That's pretty awesome. Okay. A couple of other things. Dan suggested, what about an MTF order flow? Yeah, perhaps another idea we can consider. Order flow indicators are powerful. Of course, with this, we'd have to see if it actually makes a big difference, because if it looks at real orders, they would be the same on any time frame. But we would have to, look into this further.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at some order block and order flow indicators on TradingView, see what maybe exists and if that's possible. It could be a cool idea.
Exactly. And Ty wants to know, can you talk about the indicator direction going to the next? I guess that was, which indicators are we going to do next? So that's the MA Fusion indicators, which is next in our pipeline.
I think Ty was asking what's going to happen on the chart next, what the indicator is going to do next. But in that case, I would say we don't know. Can't know.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, guys, I'm gonna in this case say goodbye to all of us. A big thank you and a big round of applause for Nicholas for this amazing presentation. So I think it was stunning for me to see what he came up with this MTF Fusion concept and how successfully, or extremely successfully, he's been using it for his own trading. So that was super encouraging and validates this approach where we use information from multiple time frames to make bigger or stronger predictions of what will happen next in terms of price move. All right, guys. So I'm going to say goodbye from all of us here at Trading Indicators. Thanks for attending and make yourself a nice rest of the day. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.